Hi, Simon.
Hey, Lisa. How
How
are
are
you?
you? I'm
Good.
good.
It's a little gray today here. Getting some
Mm-hmm.
rain finally.
Yep. A little cold.
Yep.
Anything new?
I mean, a lot of different stuff. Something that's been on my mind though, because I was trying to figure out, and I think it sort of fits with today's topic. And basically, it's like, it seems like this day and age, everything I do online, or even, for example, my father-in-law lives in a assisted living place. So you have to log in as a visitor. So every time we go see him, we log in. Well, every time we get home, we get a survey about our visit there. And it's just, I get it. They want to understand, like, do we run into any issues, or do we have any like recommendations, and they want to know if people are helpful, blah blah blah. And a lot of times we never interact with anybody. We literally log in, get the sticker, and walk to his room. And a lot of times our biggest complaint is actually the login system, which is just
Right.
convoluted. And then it even asks you to sign in, like signature, and I like, what am I signing, like?
Right. And
And
it's
so
too often.
it's
If it's
too
every single
often. It's
time, if
every
you
visit.
visit, yeah, it feels like that's a like a monthly thing would be all right. But yeah, that's too bad. Have you told them that? I assume you've told them that in the feedback. Too
Exactly. It's
many
too
surveys.
frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've just was sort of, as I was thinking about it and today's topic, everything I'm getting surveys for, right? Every time you like, I think even on like
Or
the
to write a
DMV
review.
website, I
Yeah.
get a thing. It's like, how was your web visit? What was your thing? Or if I talk to somebody on chat to get something resolved, right? Like Xfinity or something like that, I'll get a survey back.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we're about to say why you should do it. And I guess there's also things why you shouldn't. I have to admit, though, I will answer anything. Like if it's tell us your opinion, I'm like, oh, I'll tell you my opinion, just about anything. And there's also usability studies that you might get invited to, like,
true.
oh, tell us what you think. Like we're trying to improve our products. And if you're, a power user on something
Right.
software related, you can often be asked to participate. And I love doing those. And
Well,
it's funny, I will spend my time doing it.
and I think that, to your point about good and bad, I remember I set up a audio system in my home, and once you build an account and set up all these speakers, send you a survey, and they also offer, would you like to be considered part of their beta program, right? So
Exactly.
you might
Hmm.
get early software, possibly even a
Hmm.
new device or some new speaker. So in that way, it's good, but I'm not getting it every single day. So,
Yeah.
um,
There it's just making me think of like there's a bunch of different, well, I guess we can segue
yeah,
into
let's
what we're
let's
actually talking about. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I get the goal, right? What's the goal? The goal is, when you do research, and that's really our topic today, is like, how do small businesses get started doing research? What does that mean? Why does it matter? And I think all these examples we just talked about, they're all trying to learn, right? The ultimate goal is, at some point, they want to create, or should be thinking about creating, a dialogue with their customer, right? And
Hmm.
letting the customer tell them what they think, whether it's a product, a service, feedback, things like that.
But it doesn't just have to be a customer. I mean, you could be reaching out to prospects on things too. There are
Sure.
ways to do that. If you're like,
Absolutely.
especially if you haven't even like you're thinking, oh, I'm going to start, I have a product that I want to release to the world, and so doing a little bit of preliminary research to make sure what you're doing actually aligns with a target audience, as opposed to just like, this is a good idea, I think, but getting
I
that validation and customer insight is the words that I would use.
Yeah, and like you said customer, but you said prospect. But yeah, the ultimate goal is to get some value out of research, right? And you don't want to be guessing. Like, we should not be guessing what people want. A lot of times I think, as a small business owner, as a consultant, right, we will infer what somebody is going to ask us ahead of them asking us, or we'll just say, this is what you need to do. And the reality is, we should have data. We talk a lot on the show about data driven decisions.
Hmm.
And I think in the research is a way to get data, right? And it's really about knowing, not guessing.
Yeah, but it's not data for data's sake,
No,
it's
sure.
you gotta do something with that, you know, the information that you're getting and have a goal in mind of what it is that you're trying to glean. So
Right.
maybe we should, get into that a little bit.
Sure. Go ahead.
Um, what? Like what you want to test or like what you want to find out? Like what are some of the
Well,
things?
so I think there's a couple, it's multifaceted, but it doesn't have to be complicated and it doesn't have to be expensive, right? So you may, like we're saying, just want to know if somebody had a great experience, if they're a customer. But if you're trying to figure out if
Yeah, that's
you,
different.
yeah, I mean, it's a part of it though, right? Like it's really
Uh,
listening either to prospects or to customers.
Yeah.
You want to know what are what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the feedback that you're talking about, that to me is just like this ongoing thing. There is something in the corporate world called Net Promoter Score, NPS, and that's where you are periodically checking in with your customers to see how you're doing. And that's that kind of thing. And it's like you're not supposed to inundate people with that. But on the like broader, I want to learn more, bigger concepts. Maybe I want to test messaging. I want to test, I'm thinking about changing prices or total pricing model. Let's say you have a product that you buy once and you upgrade every year and it costs a certain amount and you've decided you want to move to a subscription. Maybe you want to like learn about that. So a survey is a great way to do that. And surveys are, they're pretty easy to do. And I don't know if you want to talk about like broad categories of the types of ways you can access people, or delve down into surveys a little bit more.
I mean,
You want to
I
talk
think
about?
it's okay to let's since we've set it up, why don't we talk a little bit about surveys,
Okay.
and get some more practical ideas floating out there, and then I think we can talk about other types of sort of research that you can
Research.
make. Um,
And
so
it's a continuum. I think in general, we always try to give people options. It's like, here's the free, low cost, scrappy, you have to do it yourself. And then moving up to here's some other options if you wanted to engage with a third party that
right.
can help you with things if you want to go a little bit deeper. So in terms of surveys, if it's for your customers, you should know who they are. So you can typically contact them via email. So that's the first part, is just like, how am I even going to reach the people that I want to talk to? So there's various ways of doing that, but that might be kind of the easiest way to do that.
Mhm.
Then there are platforms. We always talk about SurveyMonkey because they have I think, what is it? You can answer 10 questions for free. And then if you do more than that, they have a modest plan that you can do. With surveys, have your goal ahead of time about what is it that I want to learn from these people, and
Mhm.
then map it out ahead of time before you dive into programming it. And it's called programming, but it's easy. It's pretty drag and drop. You just enter your questions. You can add, is it a yes, no? Is it multiple choice? Is it a matrix? Is it, do you want them to write things in? You and I just worked on one together. What are some other like, um, there's a scale you can do. How do we
Right.
do 1 through 5, 1 through 10, 1 through 7, whatever? What were some other? Do you remember some of the other
I mean,
types of things?
I think that you just hit on it. It's you either have multiple, you have check boxes and you can either choose one or choose many. You
Yep,
have
radio button.
scales, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
open-ended sort of text questions.
Short or long. Yep.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think the key thing to keep in mind, like you said, is, and probably why SurveyMonkey limits the size of the survey,
Mm-hmm.
is because you don't want to bore people and you don't want to make the survey just super complicated. Unless,
Yeah. I,
the more you have engagement with your customer, the longer the survey, but we know that there's fatigue at some point.
There is, but people, if they drop out, it's okay because you've collected that information up to that point. I did think of another. So mentioned SurveyMonkey. There's another company called Typeform that I really like, and I like the way that from a programming standpoint, I like the way that it is set up, the user experience. I also like the way that it does the analysis after the fact. So that's something that these two platforms and some other ones like that do. There is a free version of another way to collect information. It's Google Forms, and I don't think there's any limit, and you can do branching. The disadvantage is it basically records everything into a spreadsheet, and you have to do the analysis yourself. So it's not easy, but it's free. So that is an option.
Yeah, and we're not even really going to get into analysis today, I don't think, but you could take that spreadsheet and pop it into ChatGPT or other AI tools and ask
That's
it
true. That's true.
to summarize it or to look for trends and things like that.
That's a good point. That since that's a Google Forms, they have Gemini, the equivalent of ChatGPT, their version, I should say, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start to integrate that in. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
keep your eyes up for that.
Well, and
I was going to mention another thing. You can
mhm.
actually if you have a physical location, there's literally as people are coming in, you can
Oh,
kind of like capture them that way too.
yeah. I think you just to be clear, so you can use email, you can use pop-ups on your website or links on your
Hmm.
website. You can
Yep.
post on social media, hey, we want to take our survey kind of thing. So those are the three, like I would say obvious maybe
Yeah.
ways that you touch customers with the survey opportunity. And then you use the tools that we just described to actually have someone complete the survey.
Yeah. That's a
And
different part.
yeah. So I just want to be clear that
That's
there's
a good
the,
distinction.
because you wouldn't, when you say email a survey, you really emailing a
You
link
don't
to a
exactly,
survey.
exactly.
Um,
Um, the other touch point is in product if you do have a product
oh,
that you
good
have.
point.
But the other thing I want to say is email, you usually know a little bit better who exactly your customer is
Hmm.
versus the website. And what was the other one that you said? Social media, you're probably reaching prospects too. So keep that in mind that it's not going to be just your customer. So it depends on who you want to try to
And
target.
and again, we should probably do a whole episode on just on surveys. But one of the things you can do, even if your website serves customers and prospects, is the very first question you can ask them is about their status. So, are you a
Mm-hmm.
customer? Are you considering a purchase? Are you looking
Mm-hmm.
for support? We used to do a lot of surveys like that. We sort of always had three questions like, why did you come today for your visit?
Yeah.
Um, were you successful? And then
Mm-hmm.
what are your other feedback that, or, additional
Yeah.
feedback that you might have or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
I was thinking, obviously you're going to ask questions too about if someone enjoyed their experience or loves your business or whatever, or ask how can you improve or things like that. And then you mentioned earlier today, net promoter score. So basically, how
Yeah.
likely are you to recommend this business to somebody
Mm-hmm.
else? And
Mm-hmm.
those are all going to give you ideas about places where um, you need to improve your customer experience or your
Yeah.
prospect
Yeah.
experience. So,
Yeah. But to back up then, because
mhm.
we kind of just went down the survey path. So there's other ways to do research that you and I have had experience with, and you might even go to Google Trends, which um, yeah. Do we want to
I mean,
show?
yeah. So first, let's set it up just briefly. So
Yeah. Go ahead.
there are surveys that let you talk to a person to get a person's feedback, right? So prospect or customer. But there's also market research, which oftentimes is more aggregate data. So your tools that are available are giving you insight into what groups of people are saying about maybe oftentimes it's keywords related to your business. There's, like Lisa was saying, there's a search tools that lets you understand what people are looking for, whether or not they actually end up on your website. There's tools that track hashtag usage, right? So we've all seen things start to trend, quote unquote, on Twitter, but
Mm-hmm.
you can do more than just look at the trending list. You can dig into the popularity of hashtags and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think, why don't you take us through some things that will, like, just looking at trends, like.
Yeah, so for people that are just listening, we're going to trends.google.com, and then when you get there, you have a like a search box that you can enter
Mm-hmm.
certain things that you're searching on. There's other things on the page that it has, like popular things for you to explore. There is also in the navigation. There's home, explore, trending now, year in search, help, and send feedback. So on the explorer, you can just sort of like see what's going on.
Freeform, yeah.
Yeah, and then trending now. Let's just see if there's anything in here. So what it'll do, it'll show you. Okay, that's interesting. So it'll show you filters at the top. So we've got regions, recency. So in the past 4 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, 7 days. So here it only goes until 7 days. There's other things that go longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
Categories, trends, and then you can refine further. So yeah, there's some political things. There's some things in the news that are on here. A couple of like, oh, interesting. Paradise Hulu. It's a show that's on now.
Yeah,
So
highly
yeah,
recommend it. It's
yeah, I
very
started watching
interesting.
it too. I think so too. But if let's do an example of something that we might. What's a good term that we might do? Because I want to show the comparison. How you can do the comparison. What do we want to do? Like AI tools or ChatGPT or something like that? Give me a
Yeah,
term.
that's a good start with that.
Let me do ChatGPT. So ChatGPT was going to be a term, and then it'll pop up, and it shows over time, same kind of drop downs or filters that we had in the previous page, but it'll show
Mm-hmm.
interest over time. This is just the last couple of days. So let's look at, 30 days or something like that. So it'll show it's kind of got peaks and flows, but it kind of goes up. And then what you also can do is compare it to another thing. So,
And it's interesting. I'll just point out, like, I think there are spikes right around when the whole DeepSeek thing popped up.
Yeah, let's look at that one. So I'm gonna add that one. So that's kind of trending. Yeah.
Look at
So
that.
yeah. So Anthropic is Claude. So I'm actually gonna remove it because it's pretty
Boring.
small. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But let
do
me just
NVIDIA. Do NVIDIA.
Okay, so we can do a few. I'm gonna do NVIDIA. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting spike. Let me get rid of Claude. And sorry, Claude.
So,
Love you, but
my screen's really small, but that little spike to the left on NVIDIA, I think it's yellow.
Yep.
To the left. Is that?
Oh, way over here.
Is that,
yeah.
what date is that?
January 7th, 2025.
So NVIDIA presented the
CES.
keynote at CES.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
How you can, So here, and then also you can break it down by region. So if we wanted to look at, we've got United States, but if you wanted to, you could change it to California or another country. Or
And one thing I'll point out, I believe the chart to the very left is volume. So
it's
even
average.
though, so they're
across that time.
Okay, so that ChatGPT is more consistently being searched on. Again, Google Trends is based on. We should specify this: what people are searching on all the different various Google platforms. So,
yep, exactly.
Chrome, Google.com, but some of the other sub search areas and things like that.
Yeah. So, and then it'll also show, if you scroll down more, you can look at a little bit more detail around sub-regions. And then, so for ChatGPT, then we've got other queries. So people are looking at DeepSeek, for some reason, Beyonce and Netflix. But then
They're
the DeepSeek
about
one,
the news,
I guess. So then in DeepSeek, though, stock price, because there's been just a bunch of the chat GPTs in the world, their stock has been impacted. Well, I don't know if they're public, but other stock has been impacted negatively as a result of it. So it just shows kind of related stuff. So it's very interesting. So that's something and it's free. So it's something to play around with that gives you some help with, doing some research about your business.
So I think, right, it's a tool to look at industry terms, but it's also, it can be just like we were showing, you can start to see trends happen. And so there might be something you're not aware of, but it's related to your business. And that's why drilling down on the other side is sort of interesting. You might say, oh, there's like, what these people who search for this are also searching for this. Is there a correlation? Can I make sense of it? Or is it something I can leverage to drive my business? Right.
Well, like you just called out, you're like, okay, that spike in NVIDIA was because that's when they delivered a keynote, you know, anyway.
Right. But what, and that's a spotting a trend after they happen. But how can you look
Right.
at something before? Like you said, Beyonce and Chat GPT. I mean, maybe Beyonce, Queen Bee posted something
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah,
Chat GPT.
maybe.
But maybe there's an opportunity to, like, if you were Chat GPT, to talk to her about, some sort of influencer or more cross promotion. Who knows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, maybe.
That's
And
how
you
you have to
obviously,
think, right?
well, you also can look at your competitors' companies. Like, are people searching on, whoever you're, like how I was just showing Anthropic and Claude, and that was like nothing. So they are the competitor to ChatGPT and others.
Right.
But it was like nothing. So if I were Anthropic, I may be like, oh, okay, so we're not getting a lot of press. People are not curious about us enough.
Yeah, and
So you might
somewhat
want to do
related.
things.
Yeah, related to this, Google has Google Alerts, which is a
Mm-hmm.
way to put in keywords, again, probably about your industry, but could be anything you're interested in
Mm-hmm.
following, and then it will tell you what's happening. Like if there's a big change, percentage change or traffic change to that keyword.
Yep.
Um, so.
And then the other thing I would say is if you have access to a decent amount of followers on social media, that's obviously a very easy way to kind of hear what your people are saying. Whether it's like you said, maybe Beyonce posted something about ChatGPT. So that would be the OpenAI people looking at, did we get tagged? Did we get, so it didn't come from their account, but it was other something else. So maybe you can see
Mhm.
something there. And then just looking at, comments that people have. And yeah, you can kind of get feedback. As a matter of fact, I used to, if I had a negative, if I had a negative experience about something,
Mhm. Yeah.
I would post to Twitter and I would copy, whoever it was, like Comcast didn't do this or whatever. And you get people contacting you pretty fast. And then you might go, oh, okay, they resolved my issue, and then you're happy. Like I feel like I don't know, lost luggage or something like that, and it was a bad experience.
So, I mean, you mentioned that you've shared on social media and you're hoping that these customers or these companies are listening, right? But have you ever taken what's the best survey you've taken? Can you think of a survey that was actually uh, making you feel valued or?
Well, it's funny. I feel like I told you that I am the kind of person that I'm giving feedback all the time. And so I generally am like, if they are incorporating what it is that I'm saying, and, like I feel good about that. I don't know if I feel that with the surveys I get. I get that when I do the interviews. So
Mm,
sometimes a survey might follow up with an interview.
yeah.
And those I feel like I'm heard because they've got the interviewer that's asking you questions, and then they have other people that are watching behind glass mirror, a mirror. They don't see you, or you don't
Mm,
see them, rather. And I do feel like my opinions are valued in that particular case. I
right.
do have another use case that is unusual. So the hotel and airlines have a thing where if you give, I don't even know who the third party is that facilitates this,
Mm.
but you sign up and it basically is like answer surveys, and you can get rewarded with airline or hotel
It's
points.
Southwest.
No, there,
Southwest.
no, 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 no.
Oh.
So I do it with American Airlines. I do it with Hilton. So it's the company can be anything, but the one it's like the ones who facilitated is like, Max My Point, or you know what I mean. It's another organization that facilitates it, and they have all these clients that they can sell to. So
Okay.
again, American and Hilton, the ones that I do, and it's basically like it's just a research. It's facilitating research, and they're random. Like I get asked questions about my employment or TV watching habits, or and so then whoever. it's not just, I don't think American Airlines or so forth are the ones that are benefiting. I think it's other companies that are benefiting from it.
Oh, and they're just
So, you know what I
reaching
mean?
you through the American Airlines
And then
platform.
and the incentive, instead of a cash incentive or a gift
And
card incentive,
miles.
it's miles or points.
Got it.
Exactly. So that's a little bit, it's a little different. Yeah. So those I actually like because I'm like, oh, at least I'm getting something from it. By the
Yeah.
way, if you do ever do a in person or one on one interviews with people, you do get compensated.
Oh,
Maybe
sure.
$50 to $100, but it's usually a gift card. I think they don't want to actually exchange money. So that you can, it's a gift card you usually can choose from a number
I
of
mean, we're
things
sort
too.
of like that. Those, what you mentioned just now, to me, are sort of second steps. So you might
They
start
are.
with a survey, and then you get invited to a user panel
Yes, yes.
or
And
an one-on-one interview or something.
let me touch on that a little bit. So I'm talking about it as like a you would be the one doing, like, getting the incentive. So that's the way I've been talking about it. But if it's the other way around, so we've
Right.
talked about surveys as one way that is, can be free or very low cost.
Right.
And then if you're like, I need a facilitator, I need somebody else to do this for me, I would say it's still not super cheap, but it's not millions of dollars. It's $10,000 to $20,000 that you can work with a third party.
Right.
They can actually, even if you're like, it's not my customers I want to talk to, I want to talk to people who are, this demographic, they make this much money, this is what their habits are, these are the people, go find them for me, and I want to go talk to them. And
Mm.
they will write the survey that is a means to recruit them. So based on the answers that are in, then you pick the people that you want. All right, I want to talk to this person who said this. Then those people come in, you conduct maybe they conduct like 10 interviews where you're the one behind the glass saying, by the way, can you ask this too? But they do a very good job because they know how to ask things that are not biased. They don't lead you down a path that you want to hear as a business owner. It's very unbiased and it's good. So if you have that kind of budget, and if that's something you're interested in, but always start with a survey, because like usually you can do
Right.
it for
And you
free.
can, there are different platforms to let you recruit people fairly inexpensively. I was thinking about
Usertesting.com is
exactly.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
good point.
But I will say this, those types of programs are a lot more complex. I
Hmm.
think there's a lot you can do without initially sort of spending that money or that energy. It's also energy. It's like a lot of coordination until you start to figure out, um, if you really have an issue or something you really need to understand better, things like that. So,
Yeah, but those, I feel like that's different. So there's the getting feedback is one thing, but research, like, these are things that I'm trying to find out. It's not how can I do better.
mhm.
It's I want to learn this thing, and the only way I can do it is by either doing a survey or talking to these people in person. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I would add then is that I agree with you. Some of the surveys that I feel the best about are the
Hmm.
ones where they offer to take my email and name or name and phone number
That's
and
true.
give me, and
Yeah.
oftentimes they'll follow up, especially if I had some particularly negative experience, or
Well,
they'll
I
reach
feel
out.
like I've never gotten, even though I say, yeah, you can contact me, I feel like I've never gotten
Oh, you
contacted.
haven't?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Only in the, if it's a solicitation for a research study, then you fill everything out, and then you give your email address, obviously, and then they contact me. But I feel like that's different. Yeah, I've never been. You're right, though. It's like, it feels kind of good. Like, okay, yeah, they're asking, but I don't feel like I've ever been actually asked. That's all
Sounds
right,
good.
though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is a good overview. So anything else, though? You think any other?
I think this episode's pretty personifies our tagline, from tangents to tactics.
It's mostly marketing.